All right, let's dive right in and get to the heart of coffee, its origin and evolution. Now, it may surprise you, but the humble coffee bean has quite an adventurous past. Legend has it that coffee was discovered by a goat herder named Kalbi in Ethiopia, who noticed his goats getting frisky after eating red berries from a certain tree. When he tried the berries himself, he experienced a similar boost in energy, and voila, the magic of coffee was discovered.
But of course, it wasn't as simple as that.
From these ancient Ethiopian forests, the coffee seeds were taken to Yemen, where it was first cultivated around the 15th century. It was here that coffee was brewed, in a similar way to how we do it today. As for how coffee spread to other regions, well, that's an interesting tale. You see, for a long time, the Arab world had a monopoly on coffee cultivation, and they were keen to keep it that way. They only exported roasted or boiled coffee to prevent the seeds from being planted elsewhere. But as fate would have it, a few coffee beans managed to get smuggled out. Yes, you heard me right. In the 17th century, Baba Budan, an Indian pilgrim, managed to smuggle 7 coffee beans out of Mecca, strapped to his chest. These beans were successfully planted in India, marking the beginning of coffee cultivation outside of the Middle East. And let's not forget the Dutch. They too played a crucial role in spreading coffee around the world. Around 1696, they established coffee plantations in their colonies in Ceylon and Java. They even gave coffee as a gift to King Louis XIV of France, a move that eventually led to coffee cultivation in the Americas. From there, coffee spread far and wide, reaching every corner of the globe and evolving along the way. Today, coffee is more than just a beverage. It's a global phenomenon with a rich and intriguing history. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We'll be delving deeper into the world of coffee in the next section. Stay tuned. Let's now take a closer look at the different types of coffee and what makes each of them unique, from their taste and aroma to their caffeine content. Coffee, as you may know, is not a one-size-fits-all kind of beverage. There's a whole world of flavors, smells, and experiences waiting to be explored.
Let's start with Arabica and Robusta, the two most popular types of coffee beans.
Arabica, which makes up about 60% of the world's coffee production, is often considered the more refined of the two. It's known for its sweet, delicate flavor and lower caffeine content. Think of Arabica as the sophisticated, mild-mannered type, offering subtle flavors ranging from sugar, fruit, and berries to chocolate. On the other hand, we have Robusta, which is, well, robust. It's stronger, more bitter, and has about twice the caffeine of the Arabica. Robusta beans are often used in espresso blends for that extra kick and to create a better crema. They have a natural hint of chocolate, which is often complemented by a touch of sugar. But that's not all. There's also Arabica and Excelsa, which are less common but equally interesting varieties. Arabica has a unique, smoky, and woody taste, while Excelsa boasts a tart, fruity flavor that's quite distinct from the rest. Now, let's talk about how the same type of coffee can taste different, depending on where it's grown. Yes, you heard that right. The flavor of coffee can change based on its terroir, a French term used to describe the environment in which it's grown. Factors such as climate, soil, altitude, and even the type of plant species nearby can influence a coffee's final taste. For instance, coffee from Ethiopia, the birthplace of Arabica, often has a bright, fruity, and wine-like acidity, while Brazilian coffee, the largest producer of Arabica, is typically low-acid with chocolatey and nutty notes. Similarly, the flavor profile of Robusta varies from region to region. Vietnamese Robusta, for instance, is known for its strong, smoky, and sometimes chocolatey flavor, while Ugandan Robusta has a more neutral and less acidic taste. And that, my friends, is just the tip of the iceberg. When it comes to coffee, there's always more to discover and savor. So, stick around as we continue our journey into the fascinating world of coffee. So now that we've delved into the different types of coffee and their unique characteristics, let's embark on a journey to understand the coffee cultivation process. This process, from planting to harvesting, processing, and roasting, is an art form in itself, with each stage playing a crucial role in shaping the final taste of your beloved cup of joe. Where to begin? Well, let's start at the very beginning, with planting. You see, coffee begins its life as a seed. These seeds, or coffee cherries, are planted in large beds in shaded nurseries. After sprouting, the seedlings are removed and planted in individual pots, where they will be carefully watered and shaded from bright sunlight until they are ready to be permanently planted. Planting often takes place during the wet season, so that the soil around the young trees remains moist, while the roots become firmly established. Next up, we have the harvesting stage. Did you know that it can take up to 4 years for a coffee tree to bear fruit? Yes, coffee really is a labor of love. The fruit, called a coffee cherry, turns a bright deep red when it's ripe and ready to be harvested. Depending on the country and region, harvesting can be done either by hand or by machine. After the coffee cherries have been harvested, it's time for processing. This can be done in 2 ways. The dry method, which is the traditional and still widely used method in many countries, and the wet method. In the dry method, the cherries are spread out in the sun to dry, a process that can take up to 4 weeks. In the wet method, the pulp is removed from the coffee cherry after harvesting, and the bean is dried with only the parchment skin left on. Then comes the roasting process, where the green coffee beans are transformed into the aromatic brown beans that we find in stores. Roasting is a meticulous process, and the roasting time affects the flavor of the coffee. Light roasts are generally more acidic and retain more of the original coffee characteristics, while dark roasts have a fuller body with more bitterness and less acidity. Finally, the beans are sorted by size and weight, and defective beans are removed. The beans are then packaged and ready to be shipped to cafes and stores around the world. And there you have it, the journey of a coffee bean from the plant to your cup. But we're not done yet. There's still a lot more to learn about coffee. Stay with me as we continue to explore the world of coffee in the next segment. All right, folks, let's move on to one of the most fascinating parts of our journey, the preparation and brewing of coffee. Remember, across the world, different cultures have their unique ways of preparing this beloved beverage, each adding a special touch to the final taste. Let's start with the traditional Turkish coffee, shall we? This method involves grinding coffee beans to a fine powder and then simmering it in a pot called a jesfa with sugar and water. The result? A strong, thick coffee with a frothy top layer, often enjoyed with a side of something sweet. Moving a little to the west, we have the Italian espresso, a method that uses high pressure to force hot water through finely ground coffee. This results in a concentrated, full-bodied coffee with a delightful crema on top. Now let's hop over to the Americas. In the United States, you'll find the popular drip or filter brewing method. which is all about simplicity and convenience. Here, hot water is poured over a filter, filled with ground coffee, and allowed to drip into a carafe, again, coated. Down south in Mexico, Café de olla is a traditional method that involves brewing ground coffee in a pot with cinnamon and piloncillo, a type of raw cane sugar. This adds a unique sweet and spicy flavor to the coffee. Over in Asia, particularly in Vietnam, coffee is brewed using a small metal French drip filter called a fiend. The coffee often drips directly into a cup containing sweetened condensed milk, resulting in a rich, dessert-like coffee. And let's not forget about the contemporary brewing methods that have gained popularity in recent years. From the AeroPress and Chemex to cold brew and nitro coffee, these methods have brought a new dimension to coffee preparation, allowing us to explore different flavor profiles and textures.
Oh, how can I forget the Scandinavian egg coffee?
Yes, an egg. In this method, a raw egg is mixed with coffee grounds and boiled in water, resulting in a clear, mild coffee with very little bitterness. These are just a few examples of the diverse ways in which coffee is prepared and enjoyed worldwide. Each method, each tradition, adds its own unique touch to the final taste of the coffee, making it a beverage that truly brings people together. So, whether you're a fan of the French press or the Italian espresso, there's always a new way to enjoy your cup of joe. Stay tuned for our final segment, where we'll explore the impact of coffee on local communities and the economy. Now, let's delve into a topic that's not just about the taste or aroma of coffee, but about the people and communities behind every cup we enjoy. We're talking about the social and economic impact of coffee production and the significant issues of sustainability and fair trade.
You see, coffee is more than a beloved beverage.
It's a significant global industry that supports the livelihoods of millions of people in over 50 countries. However, the journey from bean to cup is a complex one, filled with challenges and inequalities. Most of the world's coffee is grown by small-scale farmers in developing countries. While coffee can provide a steady income, these farmers often face significant challenges, including volatile prices, climate change, and diseases that can affect their crops. In terms of economic impact, coffee can contribute significantly to the GDP of coffee-producing countries. In Ethiopia, for instance, coffee accounts for approximately 25% of the country's export earnings. In Colombia, it contributes to about 10% of the rural employment. But let's not forget about the social impact. The coffee industry can play a vital role in providing employment and reducing poverty. However, it's also been associated with issues such as child labor and poor working conditions in some regions. This is where fair trade comes in. Fair trade is a movement that aims to ensure that producers in developing countries get a fair price for their products. It's about better prices, decent working conditions, local sustainability, and fair terms of trade. For coffee, fair trade means that buyers pay a minimum price to farmers, which can provide a safety net when market prices fall below a sustainable level. It also includes a premium that farmers can invest in business or community improvements. And then there's sustainability. With growing concerns about the environmental impact of coffee production, many farmers and companies are now adopting sustainable practices. These can include organic farming methods, shade-grown coffee, and measures to reduce water use and protect biodiversity. In a nutshell, every cup of coffee we enjoy has a much bigger story behind it. A story that involves millions of people, complex social and economic systems, and important issues of sustainability and fairness. So, next time you sip your coffee, take a moment to think about its journey and the many people it's touched along the way.
Until then, keep exploring the world through coffee.